everyone. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Beacon Board of Education. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Larry Cohen.
Here.
Betsy Dennis. Excused. Jennifer Edge.
Here.
Christine Galbo.
Excused.
Frank Burnett.
Here.
George Pouchin.
Here.
Mary Beth Stevens.
Here.
Bill Zaw.
Here.
Melissa Thompson.
Here. Mr. Hilberg, if you'll review the fire exits.
Fire exits are to our right and to our left on either side of the room.
Okay. Would you like to open the workshop?
Yes, tonight we have a few guests that are going to speak to us, but it's my great pleasure to introduce the Chief of Police of the Beacon City School, Beacon City, Chief Doug Solomon. I was very fortunate to make the Chief's acquaintance not too long ago when we were working on our safety plan and a number of other issues. So we invited the Chief here, and he has another meeting, so we thought we'd put him up first.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that, and thanks for public for having me. I just want to kind of update everybody where we're at with school safety and security. This has become obviously an immensely important topic with the tragic incident in Connecticut. Me and Mr. Hilberg, we started talking back in September about getting safety plans updated and conducting some drills and exercises, etc. And like I said, with this recent tragic incident, we've redoubled our efforts, and we're working aggressively towards ensuring that the district is safe. It's quite a process. It's very involved. There's a lot of different things to think about. It's going to be a work in progress as the days and months and years go by. This is going to be one of my top priorities to keep on top of this. The incident in Connecticut is, to me anyway, is sort of the 9/11 of school incidents. I think it's going to be a game changer, and I think it's going to change the way we do business in the coming months and years. So I just wanted to let everybody know that I am aggressively addressing this issue with absolute 110% support of Mr. Hilberg, and I just want to let you know that. I have an open door policy. If anybody has any ideas, phone call and email, feel free to get a hold of me at any time.
Thanks, Chief. I look forward to working with you in the coming months.
Yeah, thank you, folks.
Thanks
Thanks very much. Before we continue on safety, typically when the board is out and about traveling in the buildings, we have a tour, which we did earlier, of the building. The building's in great shape. And then we invite the building principal to do a short 45-second, short presentation. Mrs. Lazarus.
Thank you, Mr. Hilberg. I'm not sure I can live up to that restriction, but I will try. Admitting to the liability of my Celtic blood and my Irish heritage, it is hard for me to be brief, but I will try. And I began by trying to synthesize it down to 10 key points. The first one is to tell you something that you probably already know, which is that here we have some friends with us tonight. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to you my assistant principal, Mr. Brian Soltish, and my other assistant principal, Mr. Paul Weir, without whom we could not run this building. And I am very happy that they joined me here tonight. And we are also pleased to have with us the president and vice president of our PTO, the Rombout PTO organization, Mrs. Kim Lennon, and Mr. John Sheehy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. The first piece that most parents are aware of, and you may also be aware of since many of you are middle school parents, is that we are in the middle of midterm exams this week. Midterm exams are meant to be mid-year assessments. They are benchmarks to tell our staff and our students where they are, and they're a good comparison for us as a stepping stone from where we were at the beginning of the year when we did our introductory assessments at the beginning of the year to see where we were in the beginning. So now it's very important for us to see where we are, comparing that with our SLOs, and to see what our estimates and our projections for our students, how accurately have we been able to target what our progress and what their progress has been through the year. And so this is what's going on during this week. We will be continuing with AIMSweb mid-year assessments in February, because those began after the school year, so it's appropriate that they are after the midterm exams. And the midterm exams have been organized, one in each of the core subjects each day, so that the students are not overwhelmed by it. We have been working on keeping pace with our APPR, the 4 letters we all love to hear. All through this semester, we have been doing our announced observations. We have also really begun actively doing our unannounced observations, and they are well underway, and it's a learning process and a partnership with our students and our staff, so that we are really halfway through the year and moving forward with where we want to be with getting all of our observations and evaluations done in a timely fashion. The next piece that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned to you is master scheduling. This is the time of year when you are thinking about dollars, and we are thinking about classrooms and students and courses for next year. And toward that end, the superintendent was good enough to send Mr. Soltish and myself to a master scheduling workshop so that we can get the latest information on middle schools and what's the best way to configure them. How is this going on in other school districts? What's happening with other middle schools? Later this week, I am meeting with the Dutchess County Regional Middle School principals to talk about their plans going on with master scheduling for the coming year. We are talking about options to make some changes in the way we look at grade 6, bringing it more into alignment with what we have in grade 7 and 8, teaming. So we're going to see some changes going forward, because we know that what we have is something that's just rolled over year after year, and it's not giving us the success for our students that we want. So we owe it to the children to make some changes. One of the changes that we will see for the coming year is what the 6th grade program looks like. And we're working very closely with our coordinators and with Dr. Wapley to make sure that this is a comprehensive approach. We do need to look at what we have as far as teaming at 7th and 8th grade as well. I don't think that we don't want to have it a case where, what's the expression, where the tail is wagging the dog. We really like the concept of teaming, but we don't want it to be the end-all and be-all of the structure of middle school. So next year we can look for there to be mini teams where the English and social studies teachers will be grouped together and the math and science will be grouped together, and that will give us flexibility without losing the benefit of teaming. So those are some of the broad strokes that we're looking at for the coming year. I do want to point out that our current enrollment this year is 684 students. We have 251 6th graders, they are the biggest class, 212 7th graders, and 221 8th graders. Our projection for next year, if everyone rolls forward, which we very much hope they will have a total of 720 students in our school next year, an increase of 36 students. There would be 256 students in grade 6, 252 in grade 7, and 212 in grade 8. That is still in the ideal and theoretical framework, but that's what we have to work with at this point. We are working with our coordinators, with our grade level teachers, and with all of our stakeholders to make sure that the plans that we put forward for master scheduling include the voices of all of the people who are involved. But we are going to have more students in the building next year than we do have this year. So we're going to have some changes there. The next piece that I want to make sure that I mention to you is the BAC, Building Advisory Committee, which this year we grouped together with the school-based management group in the building. Those two committees had almost identical constituencies. So we decided that we would bring both groups together, and so far it's been very successful. The biggest piece that we are working on right now is developing a current mission and vision statement that we can all feel invested in. And we have all of the members of both of those groups now together in one group, working on a mutually understood and generated mission and vision statement for our building. So those are important pieces to talk about, to know how do we identify ourselves and what do we value as a school for our students. So we will have a new mission and vision statement coming forward from that group. The next committee that you probably want to hear about is our literacy committee. The Literacy Leadership Committee that's been working so hard from the beginning of the year is now beginning to filter the work into building level. And our Literacy Committee at the building is getting the information from our District Literacy Committee, and we are beginning to customize it and make it our own. So we are in that transition phase of taking these district pieces and bringing them into our building level. And I look forward to that becoming a very important integral part of our not just ELA, but building-wide and interdisciplinary literacy initiative. We spoke for a moment, Chief Solomon spoke about our safety committee. We have also been working, our building safety committee has been working with the district safety committee to make sure that the steps that we are taking and the protocols that we are following are aligned with and identical with other buildings throughout the district. That's a very important safety and security piece that we are really beginning to be very self-reflective about and make sure that we're doing everything we can. From things as simple as everyone is now wearing an ID tag and everyone is making sure that the doors are kept locked. We are in the classroom doors, but other pieces that are going forward are all part of the district safety plan, and you'll hear more of that going forward from other speakers this evening. I know Dr. John is going to be speaking later on, but at building level, we are making sure that we are following through on all of our pieces with building safety. Our PTO, from spirit wear sales in the beginning throughout the fall, to working the concession stands at West Point throughout the winter, to helping support the recent incredibly successful Harlem Wizards community event, our PTO has been very positive, very productive, and very much appreciated by the staff and students here at RMS. It has been a wonderful experience working so closely with active, involved, participating, knowledgeable parents for the benefit of our students. It's very exciting for me. And so we have had many, many events going on. I thoroughly enjoyed myself on Friday night. I'm sure you saw the reason why I didn't go into athletics as a field. Administration seemed a better option for someone who's 5'2". But I did have fun. And I know that the students had fun. There were smiling faces all over that gymnasium. It was a great event. The next piece that I wanted to talk to you about are some of the accomplishments. I'll just go through a few of the accomplishments. When I asked my National Honor Society and my Student Council to give me a few of their achievements for this year, the laundry list was just wonderful. A few of the pieces that you'll like to know about. Our Student Council is one of the largest student organizations here at Rombat. It has 62 current members. They sponsored the Fall Festival Dance back in November. That we had over 300 students attend and enjoy themselves. Our Student Council donated almost $800 to our school this fall to buy equipment so that our students, when they go outside for recess, can play the way middle school kids should have the opportunity to play. Not dodgeballs, what do you call them? Soccer balls, thank you. Anyway, playground balls, all different kinds of jump ropes, double Dutch ropes, cones so that we could mark out areas for them to play. And Mr. Soltish worked very closely with our Student Council, and they very generously donated almost $800 so that our students had a good amount of equipment to go outside and play at recess, which they very much enjoy doing. Doesn't matter how cold it gets. They want to go outside if they possibly can. Frisbees and jump ropes and soccer balls and all kinds of stuff. The Student Council is currently planning a snowball dance on February 22nd, and that should be fun. And they are also planning a Clean the World fundraiser. Clean the World is a not-for-profit organization located in Florida that provides soap for children all over the world who might otherwise be at risk for communicable respiratory diseases due to the lack of basic hygiene products. Last year, our students donated almost 2,000 bars of soap to clean the world, and this year they've set for themselves a goal of 2,500 bars of soap. So don't be surprised if you look in your cabinets at home and you don't have any bars of soap because your children have brought them in for our donation. They have been, the final thing that the Student Council has been working on has been coordinating with a local horticultural group and planning to provide new plants for the flagpole area outside the kiosk entrance to our school, which I think is a wonderful project. The National Junior Honor Society was guides at the open house back in the beginning of the year. They participated in our annual food drive, collecting over 500 cans, distributing them to food pantries throughout the Dutchess County area. They collected money for UNICEF, almost $500. Then they collected warm clothing for children and adults throughout our area. They collected over 400 items, hats, scarves, gloves, mittens, and coats. And at Christmas time, they decorated and filled 4 large boxes for needy families in the Rombout area with warm clothing, toiletries, candy, and toys. And the new project that they are working on now is Pennies for Patients, which is meant to help patients in hospitals. And so they are constantly involved in community service, and they're doing wonderful, wonderful projects. I mentioned the snowball dance coming up on February 22nd. I do want to make sure I also let you know that our upcoming Honors Assembly will be on February 12th, and that's for second quarter, the second quarter honors students. And the last piece that I want to bring up this evening is an interesting item. Mr. Hilberg had me remember an interesting item at the beginning of the year when I spoke to you, and I have an interesting item to close this evening. The RMS students and staff have been working incredibly hard making origami paper cranes as a school-wide peace project to send to the students of Sandy Hook, Connecticut. And we will be delivering 1,000 paper cranes at the end of this week. I brought you just a few of them because these are the ones, we have over 800 of them already made. If anyone would like to learn how to make paper cranes, we're going to be doing it after school again this Wednesday and Thursday right here in the cafeteria. And I have any number of very talented paper folders who are now experts in making cranes. I can't tell you what a delight it has been to come into the cafeteria during lunch to see kids folding cranes. Sometimes out of their homework, I'm afraid, but out of all kinds of paper. And you can see the wide variety of patterns and papers that they have chosen. But it's been a wonderful way for our students to respond positively to the tragedy of Sandy Hook, for them to feel like they have some way to reach out to the youngsters of Connecticut and say, we are there for you and we are there with you. So I close with showing you just a few. We have 5 more copy paper boxes full of cranes that are going to be strung during this week. We will take pictures of it. We will make sure that you get to see those pictures. We hope that it will be part of our yearbook. It will certainly be part of our memories and what became important at Rombout this year. Thank you so much for your attention. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about my students.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Lazarus, for an enlightening and very entertaining presentation. We appreciate the tour of the great middle school.
Thank you.
I think we do. I see. Do you have Mrs. Cohn? Are they your students are coming a little later? Okay. Next, we would like Dr. Sieverden, a high school principal, who's also has many hats this year, but particularly as the chairperson of our district safety team. And we've asked Dr. Sieverden to give us an update on what's been going on with our revised safety initiative.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. This topic, obviously, I can't stress the importance enough. And before I begin, I do want to say that, yes, you have a tragic incident that everyone must react to and review your own practices. But even prior to this horrible event in Connecticut, Mr. Hilberg and I, going back to the fall, we're talking about things that needed to be done in the Beacon City School District. If you recall, last school year, it was the last board meeting where you approved the district code of conduct. That's one piece of the SAVE legislation that we are required to follow for obvious reasons. And that happened. And then coupled with that, there is a district safety plan that must be reviewed and rewritten based on, what the needs are. In my previous life, around that time, when SAVE was about to be passed, as a central office administrator, developed such plans for a number of different school districts. And I will share some of those things with you tonight, where we're going with this. So when Mr. Hilberg and I, going back to September, we talked about what needed to be done, and I agreed that I would take the lead in that with respect to the district safety committee, and also working with the other principals on things that we're currently working on. So this, as Chief Solomon indicated, it's an ongoing process, and it should be looked at continuously to make sure that we're doing the best job that we possibly can for the protection of our staff, our students, and anyone who comes into our buildings. Having said that, the first priority in this work was to come up with a manual, an emergency manual, as Ms. Lazarus indicated, that the process is consistent throughout all of our school buildings, and that the language that we use is the same. And that's what we've done. Now, I'm going to show you the template for the Beacon City School District has been completed. And when you look at this, we have had meetings with Chief Solomon, Chief Williams and Fishkill is reviewing the document as we speak. It also goes back to meetings that Mr. Hilberg set up with the state police and also the BOCES safety consultant. We met, again, this was in the fall already, that we met. And to give you a very simple analogy, I guess you can believe it, that SED and the state police were not on the same page with the procedures that had to happen. And just how important that is, think about it, is that when you have a crisis occur, one entity is telling you do X, Y, and Z, and the other one is telling you the complete opposite. So I'm happy to say that when we had this meeting, we have a school safety guide that's endorsed by the state police and SED. And, we are in concert with what that says. Now, what I'm about to give you, I would ask that this is it's a prototype that's been in review. These are documents that our plan is to have every adult in every building have this document. And when you look at it, you'll see the ease in which somebody who needs, okay, what do I do next? First of all, when they get it, this should be their Bible. They should become thoroughly familiar with this. I will show you a finished product. There's another district name on here. I would ask you to keep all of this confidential. The template that we developed for Beacon is a confidential document because we do not want this thing floating around and everybody gets a hold of it so they'll know exactly, what will happen in how we carry out our safety and emergency protocol. All right, so I'll just hand this to you, and I'll start that from the other end. And if you can just share the template you can keep for now to look at, and then I'll collect them at the end. So I have enough for two. because my secretary Janice said, if I have to look at another one of these things, I will. I won't say what she said. But to put this thing together, you got two, and if you can share here, and here, and here, and here. Okay. And there's another finished product. You want to just kind of, go back and forth. Now, these were developed for about 5 different districts where I had worked or consulted before. And you can see that the tabs show the emergency, and then it has everything lined up what you do. Now it goes beyond, for example, emergencies. It goes beyond simply safety protocol. Okay? The other part is we've met, all the principals have met. The facility, Mr. Sibeli has met with us. Mr. Mackey, Transportation, has met with us. So we've consulted with all the parties who would have a handle in this. And all of us agree that this process is right. Now, it doesn't mean, we need to review it continuously, but this is, what we're planning to put in the hands of everybody. Okay? The other part that I wanted to share with you tonight is that not only does that delineate the procedures, what it also does is when we met with all the administrators, that the language becomes uniform. Because what did exist was that different schools were using different language to identify the same crisis. And in talking to the chief, the problem is when you have emergency responders come up, they don't know, what this particular language is, unless you tell it and you see in the document, you tell it like it is, so that everybody knows what's going on. So the language has become uniform. The process has become uniform. Well, that's not to say that in a particular school, because of the layout, there may be a slightly different variation, but the basic stuff, okay, the basic stuff is the same for everybody. And that's important as our kids come through the district, that they're all doing the same thing. So that's been reviewed, it's been agreed to, and it will be practiced as soon as not to say that we have not, because we have, but using the new terminology as soon as we get these printed and the finished product you have to take a look at. That's what it would come out to be. All right, so that's that particular manual. The other considerations that we talked about, that there was some uniformity there, meaning that I'll talk a little bit about Beacon High School, and some of this will filter to the other schools as well. As Ms. Lazarus indicated, that it's a necessity that everybody wears identification, okay? That, maybe some of you receive my phone calls. I know after a while, who's this guy? Calling me in the middle of a great program, and it goes across your screen. But communication is critical here. Starting, as you know, we had a 2-week grace period. Everybody coming into the high school and other buildings as well, pull out your ID. And what we have at the high school is we're piloting this system. It's called Raptor, where the person sitting at the kiosk will scan the license. And that ties into the sex offender registry. So that will come up. And we have all kinds of protocols that we have in place. People will come to the building. Every day we publish a calendar with appointments, people that we know are coming into the building. And whoever's at the desk, either Mr. Powers or one of our security guards at the end of the day, know who has an appointment coming into the building. And people, I tell you, have been very good about this. It's a change in routine, but before they even get to the door, the license is out. And I don't want it to sound like, okay, no appointment, I'll see you. No, we're not doing that either. What we're doing is, somebody comes in, is it possible I want to see Mr. O'Neill? The person picks up the phone, is Mr. O'Neill available? Yes, he is. Can you see this person for a couple of minutes? We'll accommodate that. If he's busy and he's in the classroom doing an evaluation, the answer is no, please make an appointment and come back. And it's been working really well. All right, so that's the part with the ID. Appointment we talked about. There's the common calendar. As Ms. Lazarus also indicated, classroom doors remain locked. That was another recommendation after they start to, the tragedy at Newtown is that some people did not have their doors locked. All right, so that's, again, people needing to get into a habit. This is routine. You've got to do that. And we will be actively supporting that initiative. I mean, we're all on board with the criteria that we set forth. Everybody knows it. They've been told that this is what the expectations are, and people have to follow them. And pretty much, that's where we are at this point. As you see, that hopefully, we get it to the printer, turn it around, have it in everybody's hands, and again, continue to look. At the high school, we do have my BERT team, and that we meet. And one of the changes we made there was that it did not, when I first came to Beacon High School, did not have the right consistency of people who should be on that team. You're looking for a team that has teachers of certain backgrounds, science, other people, custodial. I have Donnie Williams on my team. He comes at all the meetings, so we have a connection with the police department. We have clerical, in case we have to get messages out, so everybody knows, the task that they need to do. So it's a very different team, and we've already had one drill where we had that early dismissal drill where we did that as an emergency kind of a thing. And so things are moving, they're working well, and I appreciate your support, and anything that you would like to ask of me, Mr. Hilberg. I'm here.
I appreciate my friend Dr. Sieverding working well together to come up with this user-friendly document. A couple of other follow things. What's coming up in the future? Training, be distributed, and training for all the adults in the district. We will be letting parents know and students know that we'll be doing some drills in the coming months inside when the weather's bad, and then once the spring comes, perhaps some outside, evacuation drills. Going forward in the future, letting the board know we have last piece of a project scheduled for this summer. We're working, reprioritizing what we need in that project to increase security, additional surveillance, blocks, things of that nature. We'll have a full report, recommendations for the board before and approval before it goes up to state ed for approval, because we want to be sure to have the aid for those projects. Matter of fact, Anne Marie and I are meeting with state aid advisor on Wednesday about some of that. So this summer, there'll be additional pieces to really make sure that come September that we'll have the optimum setup for security. You heard the chief. It's been such a pleasure to work with the Beacon and also the fiscal departments. They've been so supportive. Fiscals has been around right after, the week right after the tragedy in Connecticut. They were at the elementary schools every single day, and they continue to show their presence. And as you know, we have officers in and out of the middle school all the time. So the police have been really great about that. They've been helping us with the safety plans, and the chiefs are on our district-wide safety committee. So we've been very proactive with this, and we believe our schools are safe, and they will continue. That security will continue to grow. Thank you, Dr. Sieverding. I appreciate your great help and your report. We'd just like to, if we may, pick up these plans back from you. If you could. So I got a couple of them.
Let me know.
I will.
Colors. I'm partially blue.
Okay. Whatever beacon is beacon's going to be.
We pass.
We passed them on. Thank you very much. Finally, I have to say that one of the best decisions that I ever made as a superintendent was working with Dr. Barbara Walkley. She is absolutely amazing. We have been, well, actually, Barbara has been almost single-handedly wrestling the APPR plan. And I have to say that Barbara probably won't, she's always a little too modest, but it was, as you know, submitted on time in July. It was just accepted for final submission by SED this evening. And they are going back and forth. But hopefully, we'll be okay. But all that is thanks to Barbara, not only the plan, but its implementation. So, Barbara, would you care to give us a little bit of report on APPR and what we've been doing?
Sure. First, that was very nice, but actually, there's a lot of partners in crime with the APPR. It goes without saying that without Mrs. Atwell and Mr. Romanino, the APPR would have never emerged, and also the work of our attorney. Because it is a legal document that we are creating, and it is a document to which we will be, I think, held very closely accountable from the state. So we have been carefully putting things together in the document that we feel that we can deliver. And sometimes people say, what's new this year? And I say, well, how about everything? I have a great quote from Jen Fisher, who's a 5th grade teacher at Forrestal. And she said the other day, it's like we're all first-year teachers this year, because so much has changed in the classroom with the Regents Reform Agenda, with the APPR. I think if you went in a classroom, and some of you heard this at the Education Committee meeting, you'd be very surprised to see what's going on in the classroom. Instruction, for the first time in a long time, looks different. And even how we're reading with students looks very, very different. We are presenting them as per the state design with challenging text, and we are not initially spending a lot of time in word study as per the methodology being used. But I have to say that our students are responding very well, and they're standing up to the challenge that is being put in front of them. And they're enjoying it. The teachers are enjoying it is a huge amount of work, though, I have to say. On the days that I feel sorry for myself when I'm leaving the building late, I'm going out and I'm seeing the teachers go out too. So I know everybody is working really, really hard to bring all these changes about. The other thing that you'll see when you go into the schools is vocabulary is everywhere. We're teaching vocabulary in phys ed, art, music. Everywhere you go, you'll see words, and that's wonderful because the vocabulary ties into the reading and being able to understand grade level or challenging text. And so something that we're thinking that I'll talk more about in the near future is we're going to be inviting any parent to come to some sessions where they can learn about how they can help at home. We're certainly learning more about the state accountability. We'll be having visits and assessments for the district and for both the middle and the high school this year. And the review that they're doing is a little bit different than it has been in the past. They'll be reviewing systems, and they're really looking at leadership, communication, instruction, data analysis, and professional learning, not only across the district, but also specifically within the schools. And along with the teachers learning new things, the administrators are learning new things, and I brought some of the books that we're looking at this year, that we're doing book studies and have for reference. We are using the work of Paul Bambrick's Santoyo, who is one of the major consultants that is used at the state. We're reading actually the second book first, Leverage Leadership, and I'm smiling because every date that we've set up to start our book talk is, we've had a snow day, we've had this, we've had that, or a rain day, whatever it was. We also purchased for all the administrators and our content coordinators his first book, which is Driven by Data, and it really talks about systems of how to analyze data, some ideas for analyzing data. So they're two very powerful books. We also purchased for each administrator tools for promoting active in-depth learning. And this ties into many of the changes at the state that, sort of the old-fashioned model of the lecture at any grade level is changing, and we really need to have hands-on activities in all classrooms, not only because it's good for all learners, it's especially good for our students who are English as second language students, and for students who struggle in the classroom. So lots of new things. We are meeting sometimes twice or 3 times a month with the administrators, with learning sessions. We just had a great session about some strategies for ESL students. We are also going to begin a process of strengthening our response to intervention program and our academic intervention program. We've been doing a lot of things this year, but in particular, we're going to bring a select group of people together. Response to intervention was a process put together by the state to help struggling students in the classroom. And the state's desire, and of course our desire as well, that goes along with the belief that all children can learn, is that we want to service all of our students in the least restrictive environment and the vast majority of our students in the general education classroom. Response to intervention is a process that helps us find the key for some students. When we have students who have unique learning styles or have unique methodologies, instead of waiting until they're failing, we want to begin to try some interventions throughout the school year to see if we can find that key that opens their learning. Now, interestingly, that key or those strategies are strategies that are good for any learner. And so we're going to be very clearly defining the 3 levels. There are 3 levels, a hierarchy of interventions, starting at the lowest level in the classroom, the kinds of things that help kids in the classroom, to becoming more intense or even extra help outside of the classroom. We'll be defining those 3 levels and the interventions that tie to each of those tiers, and then link to the academic intervention services that have been in the school district for a long time. We have some new after-school programs, some exciting and different ways that we're helping kids after school. We've always had the instructional reinforcement program after school, but this year we're tying it very much to data, and the data from the assessments that have been mentioned earlier, both at the beginning of the year and our mid-year assessments. We will be using the data from that to better guide and very specifically provide reinforcement for students in these after-school times. We are also looking at a web-based program that we will be piloting at the middle school this year, which is for all core subject areas that provide extra practice and extra information for students. It will be available to students 24/7, which is great. They can, if they have access, they can use it at home or at the public library or after school, as we will plan on running after-school sessions. So those are some of the things that we're working on. It's not all of the things, but it's certainly all about instruction this year and really strengthening systems that have already been in place here in the district.
Well, thank you, Dr. Walkley. I know that's just the tip of the iceberg. The board has, I hope you have a chance, if you haven't read Dr. Walkley's entire report this week, to take another opportunity to review it, because there's a lot of great information there that I think gives you a sense of what we're trying to accomplish and what we're up against.
May I have a motion for executive session? Motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular person in matters made confidential by FERPA and collective bargaining negotiations under the Taylor Law, and the board will return as soon as possible.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Didn't ask any comments or questions. Motion carried. The board will return as quickly as possible. I'll review the agenda. We'll have previous